Hey everyone, Zieg here. Today we're diving into a topic that always sparks debate. Capcom has removed de novo from Monster Hunter Stories and replaced it with Enigma Protector. But this raises a bigger question. What is the real impact of DRM on the gaming industry? We'll explore how piracy directly affects game sales, based on recent studies, and what we can expect from Monster Hunter Wilds, which is set to release in February 2025 with de novo. Does the choice of DRM make sense? Let's break it all down. To start, DRM, or Digital Rights Management, is a technology used to protect games from illegal copies. It helps companies combat piracy and safeguard their revenue, particularly during the initial months of release. De novo, for instance, aims to make cracking the game difficult during this critical launch period, which is often the most profitable for developers. A recent study by the University of North Carolina found that cracking de novo can reduce a game's revenue by up to 20%. This happens because many players choose pirated versions if they're available shortly after launch. For Capcom, protecting that initial investment with de novo is crucial, considering the massive development and marketing costs. And let's be real, 20% revenue loss is no joke. If we're talking about 1 million copies sold, that's 200,000 copies that would likely be pirated instead of purchased. Capcom has used de novo in several major titles like Resident Evil Village, Devil May Cry 5, and Monster Hunter World. While it's effective early on, the downsides quickly became apparent. Complaints about performance drops and increased loading times. The usual strategy is to protect the game for the first few months, then remove the DRM to improve player experience. In Monster Hunter Stories, de novo was swapped out for Enigma Protector, a lighter alternative. While this approach works for revenue protection, players often criticize de novo for its impact on performance. Games like Resident Evil Village suffered crashes and FPS drops, frustrating even legitimate buyers. With Monster Hunter Wilds set to launch in February 2025, de novo will be implemented. This offers benefits like stronger protection against piracy and hacks, which is especially important for a game focused on co-op and crossplay. However, de novo could limit performance on less powerful PCs, which is a significant issue in a multiplayer game where smooth performance is essential. If Capcom were to use Enigma Protector instead, performance would likely improve, but piracy protection would be less robust. This trade-off requires a delicate balance, especially for such a highly anticipated title. Piracy remains one of the biggest challenges in the gaming industry today. As the study mentioned earlier showed, cracking DRM can cause substantial revenue losses, especially for games like Monster Hunter Wilds. That 20% loss might seem abstract, but it represents millions of dollars that could fund updates, new content, or even future projects in the franchise. For companies, protecting games during the first few months is critical because that's when most full-price sales occur. That's why de novo has become a standard choice, despite the criticism and technical issues it may bring. For many players, DRM feels more like a barrier than a safeguard, as it can negatively impact performance even for those who buy the game legally. But from a business perspective, it's a necessary tool to combat piracy and ensure the game reaches its sales potential. In the case of Monster Hunter Wilds, de novo's presence could protect the game. However, Capcom will need to carefully consider when to remove the DRM, as they've done with other titles, to balance revenue protection with player satisfaction. So, what do you think about this situation? Is it worth sacrificing performance to have better protection against hacks and piracy? Or should Capcom consider alternatives like Enigma Protector? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all the latest Monster Hunter news. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.